Welcome to the Woman and Money Empowerment Show. My name is Yulin and I am your host. In these episodes, you will hear my heart-to-heart conversations with women from all walks of life, sharing their wisdom and their journey to success. I hope through these stories, you will find inspirations and affirmation that ordinary people like you and me, we can achieve extraordinary results and live an extraordinary life. Now, let's dive into today's show. Welcome, Maria. I am so excited to have you on my show.
Thanks for having me, Yulin. I've been really looking forward to having this conversation, actually.
Yeah, me too. And the reason I was so excited to have you here having this fireside chat is because of the various background experiences you've had. So you're a business strategist, you're a funding strategist, you're a speaker, you're executive producer, you're a consummate deal maker, and you are an author of an upcoming book called Love Yourself Rich. And by the way, I love the title. I wish I had that for the book that I published last year. But I am so looking forward, to read your book. So that's why I'm so excited to have you on this show, because I think what you have accomplished in your life through the many paths that you've kind of embarked on, that can be a real good inspiration for others who may have these dreams in their head, but just afraid to take actions or not knowing how to take actions. And so I would love for you to, share your words of wisdom and your life journey. So before we dive into the specifics, maybe you can, beyond the titles that I've just introduced, just tell our audience, who is Maria?
Yeah. Well, I have to tell you right now, in this time and space, this is my legacy work. So I'm going to go back to the beginning a little bit, because this has been quite a journey, and I have to give you some context. So I had a very successful career in the corporate sector. Started out as a pharmacist, worked in very high critical care areas of hospitals, went into home health, kind of a pioneer in home health, and really just loved that. Pharmacy statutes in the state of Arizona, and negotiated large deals with insurance carriers and took care of patients, and really had quite a bit of success. But I did have an entrepreneurial spark in me. And so at one point, in fact, I was going for my MBA studies, and I was we were doing a study group, and I was kind of challenged to start a business. We were supposed to do an anatomy of a business as a final project. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to start a business. We can dissect mine. So even though I had a full-time job, I was going to school for my MBA, I decided to start a retail business. And I brought in a partner, and I had a whole support team. And so because I had success in the corporate sector, I just naturally thought that would translate into my new entrepreneurial journey. And it was really funny and I was very almost arrogant about it. I didn't realize, though, starting a new business, what a big sucking noise a new business makes, right? You have to feed it. Yeah, it needs capital. And so working in the corporate sector, I always had a budget, I had team around me. So it was very confronting. The whole money conversation became very confronting. And it started bringing up my issues with money, which I never knew I had issues with money, because I was always successful. I always made money. But I realized, wow, I have like a really poor relationship with money. And it goes back to even when I was growing up, and money was always used as like a power, there's always a power struggle around money in my family. And so there was a whole conversation too about deserving of it. So here I am, starting this business, and I'm throwing all my own resources into it, which I think most entrepreneurs do, to the point of I'm almost becoming bankrupt. I had tapped into my retirement plan. I was, using all my credit cards. I mean, I didn't know how to raise money. Subconsciously, I felt like I probably didn't even deserve to ask people about money. And so I was trying to do it all on myself. And so it was very scary and exciting at the same time. And I grew the business very quickly and sold it as quickly as I could, because that was even though we were successful, we're running out of capital. And so sold it at a profit. And then I realized, wow, that was exciting and scary, but I have to get my act together regarding money. And so I started moving into that place of really understanding not only, how to have a better relationship with money, but also how to fund a business, how to capitalize a business. And how to move projects forward in a better, more abundant way. And so over the years, I really started, I came to grow, love, and appreciate money. And to me, I love money. I love the energy of money. To me, it's a very spiritual energy. I love to see it circulate into its highest and best use. And so I became very good at not only funding my businesses, but making money and understanding how to do all that. And so that was very exciting. And also, different ways of capitalizing your business. Because once you start loving money and then you're deserving of it and you become more confident around money, then it's not an issue funding your business. If you have a good idea, you have the resources to make it happen, you should be unstoppable. But what I see is a lot of entrepreneurs, there's a lot of sabotage going on with the entrepreneurs, especially as it relates, to money. And so there's a fear of success, fear of failure, right? So we're seeing that a lot. I was witnessing that a lot, even with the people I was helping. In my mind, and over the years, I had businesses, I sold my business, but I got more excited about helping others. So I became more of a consultant and a coach, more of a consultant, because I would step in and do things with people. I've raised tens of millions of dollars over the years, not just for myself, but for other people. And so I could see the possibilities with people. I knew how to get there. There was no doubt in my mind. If I was helping somebody, I could see the light. But I always noticed there was different times where they could trip themselves up. And so that was very fascinating to me. So here I am, I partnered with Chad as my business partner, my life partner, and we've been together for 10 years. And a few years ago, we said, what's like our legacy work? What do we want to be doing right now? And we realized we really do want to support the creators and the innovators who are solving the most pressing problems right now on the planet. But in order to be successful, we knew we needed to bring the money to the table. And so, had to be like the bank for transformation. And not just that is, so it's, supporting the creators and innovators and bringing the money to the table, but also bringing other resources. So creating an incubator environment for them. So we have resource. I mean, they may be the creators and the innovators, but they don't necessarily, don't have all the resources to be successful in business. So we want to support them with that. So I think it's just fascinating to go into business. Any entrepreneur, I think that it's very confronting to do that. And so really, you have to understand all your stuff is going to be brought up, right? So, we all our fear, all our thoughts of deserving and all of that, fear of rejection and all that gets brought up. So it's a wonderful opportunity for all of us as we step into business, entrepreneurial endeavors, to really learn and grow from that. And so it's really important to appreciate the journey. So what I'm doing now is we've been building this a very substantial fund using a very disruptive methodology. But over the last several years, I've started multiple businesses. So we have a very successful tiny home business. We have a collection of media shows and things that we produced, and it just goes on and on. And so that's what's happening right now. We're building a fund, we're investing in others, and we're creating other entities that will support, really solving problems. We work in the domain of very high impact, social impact. So everything we do is about serving a purpose and also creating profit. So it's profit and impact as well. But it wasn't always like that. I mean, that's how I started, was such a pure confrontation of my, feelings of inadequacy and deserving and, not understanding money and just really, it's been an incredible journey.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And I didn't even know that you start out in the as a pharmacist, I mean, that in itself is another whole, whole life, right? It sounds like you were very quick to get out of whatever money stories you had. Quick in the sense that, recognizing these are my challenges and I need to step out of that in order for me to move forward. And I think that change, that shift is very crucial for everyone. Because for me, being a money coach, I do see a lot of women who have challenges, just their relationship with money, and whether it's not feeling deserving, or sense of shame and guilt and whatever, right? It's so complex, and I find that for some people, it is so hard to get out of that. It's so deep rooted. So what was it that you've looking back, that helped you get out of that space? And I love hearing what you ended up doing. Is I recognize this is what I need to work on to be better at, so I can do all the other things, right? People who, the ones that I support and I see, is that they tend to be stuck in this place and having a hard time to get out of it. So I would love to hear how, what were the key things that help you actually get out of it and then move into a completely different mindset of, I actually need to master this area of life. And I remember
Right.
you said something, when we had a call earlier, and you said, I chose to master. And I thought that was so powerful. So maybe you can just share some of that, how you make that shift.
Well, this was a years long journey, so it's always a work in progress, and it's still happening. I mean, that our even right now, we probably this year will have about 100 million in working capital under management,
Mm-hmm.
in our fund, and our goal is to have $1 billion, and that's a huge energy to
Mm-hmm.
carry. So I had to even expand to receive that. But in my book, Love Yourself Rich, the love, and that was the key, is the love is really setting up the container for love, not just to love others, but really loving yourself. I had to forgive myself for, if you're going to go forward and take chances and take risks and do and innovate and do different things and go for your dreams, you're going to have to give yourself a break. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to, for me, I started just forgiving myself. I started, I gave myself permission to make mistakes or have learning lessons, because really there's no, I mean, think about it. We make a mistake or we do things or things didn't work out or whatever, and we carry all this blame and shame. And it's like this bag of rocks, that we're carrying
Right.
around with us. And it slows us down. It truly slows us down. And
Mm-hmm.
I had to say, you know what? I just had to let that go. So I think probably the biggest thing for me, when I've had the breakthroughs and I took, I would take a quantum leap, was the times when I just said, it's okay. I'm doing the best that I can. I always, I knew that I was always coming from a place of honesty and integrity. I always wanted to do the right thing, right? So no matter what, I always do the right thing. So if anything happened and there was a mistake, or like I would have a windfall. Like I would sell a business. This is early on. I sold a business and I had a windfall of money. And so here I am. I'm achieving this. I'm creating success. I'm making money, and then it would go away. Like
Mm-hmm.
something would happen. I would make a bad investment that I knew better, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
things like that. I said, and that was a subconscious,
That's right.
unconscious sabotage, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had to like, oh, okay, how can I not do that? So it's always a learning thing. But I think the whole love part. So that means you have to, allow yourself to make mistakes. You have, mess up. I still mess up every day. There's always something I could do better. Oh, we're not going to do that again. We're
Right.
going to do this. So it's constantly course correcting without attachment, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's, if you could let go of the blame, the shame, the judgment, you could forgive yourself always, just let yourself do, whatever. You're going to move faster through making decisions. You're not going to do things that are obligating. You're going to do things that are serving you,
Mm-hmm.
serving others, but make you feel joy, and not so much like, oh, I have to do this, is what people are telling me to do. I'm obligated to do certain things, or not follow your heart. I mean, there's a lot of people doing things. I know that they think they should be doing, but it's not at their highest good. And we were talking about this, and she's having trouble breaking through her yearly income. And she really should be. She's brilliant and she's talented. And I know her. I've known her for many years, and she really should be in another place. But she's having trouble breaking through. It's a six-figure place, and she works really hard. But she told me, earlier, like that year, she had had an illness. She had to stop working, and she was taken care of financially for that period. But she loved the freedom that she had. She loved that she could slow down. It brought her so much joy. Like her life became easier during
Mm-hmm.
that period when she was recuperating, and she felt so good about it. So here she is now. She's not letting herself have that again. She jumped back into working hard in her business, and she's wondering why she's not making a go of it. And I told her, I said, because you experienced ease, right? Ease and flow, and you were still taken care of financially. Why can't you let yourself have that all the time? Like, love yourself a little more.
Right.
Say, no,
Right.
that's what I love. I loved having ease in my life. Like,
Yeah.
stop programming, I got to work hard. If you keep saying, oh, I got to work hard, I have to do this, you're going to have to work hard. Just
Yeah.
program something different. Program ease. Like when
Right.
something sparks joy, when you are happy doing something, like, oh, I want more of that. Don't
Right. Right.
negate that and go opt for working harder, stuff like that. So we have to, and so that's huge. I think
Mhm.
allowing ourselves, to just love ourselves more. I'll give you an example. This is what people do all the time. I've got to get this done, right? This has to get done in my business. And so maybe you think you don't have the money to hire people or whatever. I'm going to just go do this because it has to get done. So we start wearing a lot of different hats in our business. We start like we're martyring ourselves. I'm an Italian Catholic, right? So we do a lot of martyrs and all that. Anyway, we're martyring ourselves. We're giving our life to our business, and it's wearing us down. But that's what you're telling the universe. Hey, I've got to do this. Like, no, there's nobody there to help me. So the universe abhors a void. So if you just stop for a moment and just have some space and say, wait, I'm not good at this. If you're doing jobs in your business that you would get fired from someplace else, you should stop and just say, wait, there's got to be somebody better, who's more knowledgeable that can do this. And just allow for the universe, for God, for whoever to bring people to you, because the universe abhors the void. If you step out of that, I got to do it all myself, and just say, I'm here, I'm ready to be supported, right? I deserve it. I'm ready to be supported. Guess what? The right people are going to show up. There's going to be financial resources, like everything starts showing up, but
Mm.
we don't allow ourselves that
Yeah.
space. So those
Yeah.
are some of the key, I think, loving, giving yourself a break, loving yourself, giving yourself permission to mess up, which is that's just evolution. That's innovation.
Right.
You have to see what's going to work. That's
Mm.
not failure. Once I started having that in my life, then I had like amazing quantum leaps. And when I say quantum leaps, I mean like compounding money,
Mhm.
happening. I meant having more ease and
Mhm.
flow. I mean, like having magnificent people show up on my life
Mhm.
that are helping me, that take action. And that's
Mhm.
why I can have very successful, we have multiple businesses that are very successful right now. I mean, one of our, in our tiny home business, I mean, we just started that less than 2 years ago, and we
Mhm.
are now ramping up to about 6 million a month in
Mhm.
revenue, and that's substantial. And
Yeah.
I'm not out there building the houses. I have a magnificent team and partners, and we put this all together, and we all, join forces. But that's a pretty substantial, um, there's a lot of energy there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very
That's
successful, and that's just
great. Yeah, that's great that you brought in, about, the love, and I think that's such a huge thing, especially when we're talking about money, because people don't necessarily equate money with love. Money is often equating with power or evil or all of that. Actually, I think at the core, and this is what I talk to my clients about too, is that, the work that we do together around money and finance, at the end of the day, it's really a work of self-love. That if we love ourselves enough and that we respect ourselves enough, then we will do whatever we can to have that financial independence for ourselves. And when I talk about financial independence, it's not just in the monetary sense, but also as an individual, as women, that we don't have to rely on men to support us financially. As if we look at ourselves, if we respect ourselves enough as an individual, without the hat of whether I'm a man or woman, then we should all be able to support ourselves in this world, and however that might look like. And so that shift, that mindset shift of think of money as a way to love myself, and I think that's brilliant, and that's totally, we're on the same wavelength on that.
I have to share an example, exactly what you're saying. So I love money, and I think I invite everyone to love money, and love money. Not I don't covet money. It's not that. It's the energy of it. Because like I said, I don't consider myself, and I think this is where people have trouble receiving it, especially if you're doing like very purposeful work, if you're a service provider or a healer or whatever. There is that disconnect. I and this can shift. Actually, this will shift. Relationship with money is. I consider myself a steward of money. So I allow money to flow in, but it's about putting it into circulation. So right. So I'm creating prosperity for my team members. I'm helping my community. I'm not accumulating the money. And like even building $1 billion fund, I can't even spend that for myself, right? But I'm excited about the purpose of it. And that's the whole thing. You give money a purpose. I want to help the community. We create prosperity for our team members. We're building solutions. And so like there's purpose, right, for the money. But so that's when I say I love money, I love the what I do. And then because of that, I take care of my money, right? So we look at it, we manage it. Some people are afraid to even look at their finances. So I talk to people about money. I allow people to help me. I bring people in to help. And so that's, and Ken Honda, who wrote Happy Money, is a dear friend of ours. It's a brilliant book. I invite everyone to check it out. Ken Honda. And one day we were with Ken, and he said Maria loves money, and you want to have happy money. And he said to Chad, he said, Chad, I think you're a little indifferent with money. And Chad acknowledged that. Yeah, possibly, because Chad hasn't always looked at money the same way I did. He wants to do good in the world. But my energy has always been around, okay, the money and all that. And I like to look at that, and it's fun for me. So Chad was acknowledging, I could be indifferent to money. He goes, so how would, Ken said, so Chad, how would Maria feel if you said, I'm indifferent to you? How would she treat you? So that's what you do with money.
Yeah.
If you're not loving your money, if you're indifferent to money, how do you think it's going to treat you?
Yeah,
Is it going to stick around?
Right.
So I was like, that was like such an awareness for him. And he just shifted after that.
Right.
So I invite everyone to look at that. Like your relationship with money, that's huge. It's not separate. You really want to get whole with that. And so, even I tell people, Mother Teresa was one of the richest people on the planet, as far as I'm concerned. She brought in over $1 billion, in money from contribution. But see, it was for the charity. It wasn't for her. But when you look at what she produced, that was, she was a very, wealthy woman, quote unquote. I mean, to me, she was very rich because she was able to do that. So, I mean, but Mother Teresa had such high purpose that we can't, and whatever you think of her, I mean, she did do that. And so it's just, something to look at. So yeah, when you say money is evil, no, it's what people do with that. It's not the money. Money is an energy. It's going to, whatever focus and attention you give it, it will become that. So
right. Thank you. So there are a few things that you mentioned, and I want to kind of dive into a little bit deeper. One is you mentioned that you've done lots of funding, raising money for different, projects and purposes. And so for people who may want to get into kind of the funding world or the work of fundraising, what are the key, like say top, I don't know, 1 to 3 things in raising funds, to be successful in raising funds?
It's not so much that people would want to get into it. It's kind of a means to an end. We're an anomaly, but most of the time, like for instance, for our tiny home company, we funded the growth of our company, and now it's growing. The demand is outpacing our ability to, keep up with the growth. So we're doing a $5 million raise, and we've had quite a few investors come in, and so Chad and I are taking over that portion of the supporting the company, bringing the funding. The question you're asking is, you're wondering how people can raise money for their projects, or okay. Yeah, so you want to, and there's plenty of money out there. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs hesitate. They try to grow organically, or they sacrifice their own resources. So I would recommend that you don't do that. You should protect your own personal financial integrity. Do your best to maintain good credit no matter what. Don't sacrifice your own all your personal resources for your business, because you want to leverage that. But I think what's really important is, if you're going to raise money, for your business, there are multiple ways of doing that. Now, for instance, I have, in fact, I we do this all day long. We help people with financing for their business. We have access to ESG financing, which are 10-year lines of credit. So this is debt financing, which is very with competitive rates, and I think that's a great way to go. So, or you can do an equity, or there's some other things. So first and foremost, you have to understand where your business is going. So you want to create some milestones. So if you're going to raise money, you have to understand where will money take you, and it should be attached to revenue, right? So you have to understand where your business is going, what kind of revenue goals do you have, or what's potential. So you have to understand there has to be an exit for the money. You're going to raise money, like for instance, and I'll just use my tiny home business because it's really straightforward. This is what I do. It's very aligned. So we do not have to raise money. If we keep on a growth trajectory, we're getting stronger, and we're like doubling our income every year. However, we wanted to take a big quantum leap. So we just moved into a 68,000 square foot facility. We want to go from 10 homes a month to 40 homes a month, which represents $6 million a month in revenue. That's a big leap. But in order to do that kind of growth, we needed operational capital. So that's how we determined $5 million will take us to $6 million a month. So that's a very clear investment. Like that's how we're going to grow faster. So you have to understand where money will take you. Okay, that's really important. And then to raise the money, we had to understand how we can pay back our investors. Mm-hmm. So you want to have a clear understanding of what the ROI is of whatever money you bring in. So once you understand how much money you need in your business, where it's going to take you, now you can decide what is the best strategy to use. We can manage debt, or you're going to bring in equity, where equity means it's actually more expensive money, but you have people that invest and they get a little piece of your company, and their money is tied to your company. So if you succeed, everyone gets a payout whenever you have an exit. If you fail, the money, if you decide it's not happening, the money stays with the business. So that's initially you have to I think at the very least, make those determinations. Mm-hmm. The next thing that's really important is you have to build a team of people that have gotten where you want to go. And mm-hmm. So, and this is what I do all the time. I have an impact mastermind group, and people work with us, and this is where we help them innovate and disrupt and make these decisions. Most people don't have access to this kind of knowing about their business. I mean, I don't just do sales and marketing and build funnels and all that. I mean, there's other aspects of your business that you should know, and this is where I help people, really understanding how to flow money through your business. So right. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, this is great, because it sounds like I think like you're making that distinction about, there are certain people who have expertise in like building funnels and marketing and all of that. And then there's where your expertise is more on the strategic side in growing your business. And, parts of that is about being very clear what your objectives are. When you say, understand where this money going to take you. And that's really about being very clear of what your objectives are. And then I think what you also said is about having a clear exit strategy. I think that's the piece maybe some of the people who are maybe entering this business may not think about, right? A lot of times, beginners, exactly. They think about building business, but then they don't think about the exit strategy, which is very, very important when it comes to investing and funding, which is kind of the same.
And there's plenty of money out there. And I always say the money hasn't, regardless of what you've heard or think, the money hasn't left the planet. There's plenty of money. There's a lot of different ways to finance your business. I help people get plugged into that. So when as you're growing and you're reaching a point where your demand is exceeding your capacity, or, you just would like a faster growth, which means maybe acquire another company, or, whatever that looks like to you, just know there's plenty of money out there. And so the more clear you are on the purpose for the money and where it's going to take you,
Mhm.
Money will find you. It's
Right.
there really is a lot of money. It's just what's missing is good deal flow, I think. And I think I find that a lot of people don't think about it. Like they don't even think about financing their business, and they just continue to struggle,
Right,
without
right.
money. Like, why are you
So,
struggling?
right, right, right. And so if we were to mimic your model, and what you just described, with your tiny home business, but if we try to mimic that for a solopreneur, small business owner, and like you said, so far they've only been really tapping into their own financial resources to build their business to a certain level. And then now they're at a place where, ideally in their mind, they want to quadruple or, whatever to take that next big leap. In those cases, they probably, I mean, just in a traditional systemic way, it's probably harder for them to find investors per se, right? For a small, let's just say for my coaching business, right? Because there's a lot of
Yeah, yeah.
coaches out there. If I want to take my business like fivefold next year and I require a certain amount of money, would you suggest to go the route of maybe going to a banking loan, a business loan, or are there paths for equity investors as well? What has been your experience?
So, okay, so real quick, yeah, different. So let's do a coaching business, right? So it's not about I need the money. I would focus on the plan. Like, what is it going to take to 5x your business? So, for instance, maybe not just you. I'm just saying. So somebody doing really well, like they have their system, they have their process. Maybe they're doing a very comfortable 6 figures, and they want to scale it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is it? What's it going to take to go? Let's say $1 million a year.
Right.
What do you need to create $1 million in revenue? You're going to need a bigger team. So you're going to have some more salaries to pay. You can't do it all yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to need more marketing support.
Mm-hmm.
So say you do, you're doing like Facebook ads, or you're doing some advertising and it's working. Now, okay, what if we scale that up, right? What if we're about to enter, we have a big launch happening, and we have I think our advertising budget is about $250,000. But
Mm-hmm.
that $250,000 advertising is going to get us to like tens of millions of dollars. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
what is it going to take for you to get to that $1 million mark? That's what you have to figure out. When you get that, so you want to have 6 months of operating capital. You want to be able to pay salaries, do advertising, figure out that budget.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's what you need to figure out.
Mm-hmm.
So put a plan together of this is what we're going to do to get to $1 million. These are the people that we need to hire. This is how much it's going to cost. And there's lots of spreadsheets and templates to focus in. Now, once you figure out, so say it's going to take $150,000 to get to $1 million
Mm-hmm.
in income. Do you think that's worth it?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
my
Even if it's
question
a
is,
quarter, even if it's a quarter, well, just follow me. So even if it's like you figured out it's going to take $250,000 to take you to $1 million in the next like 8 months,
mhm,
that's worth it to me, right? That's like a
right.
4x return. Now, what we need then after that, you figure out, okay, what is the best money? So at that point, I would go to do a friends and family round and
Mhm,
do basic, you could do basic promissory notes. So you could go to people to invest in you for maybe 3 years at a time, and you offer them interest. Very
mhm,
simple. You could do that.
mhm,
That's really common. I highly recommend it. Even people, and I show people how to do this in their networks, because people have been watching you do your thing. And if
mhm,
they like what you do, if you've impacted their life and they see that you're just going to scale, that's a good investment, I think.
mhm, mhm,
So a simple way to do that is you can go very quickly. You don't have to give equity away, or
mhm,
maybe you do, but you do some debt, financing where you're offering them personal promissory note. You want to start building business credit. Business credit separates your business from you personally. So
right.
you have a FICO score, your business has a paydex score. So then
Mhm,
you can start accessing lines of credit. I was able to access, about $100,000 in credit cards for
mhm,
the businesses. So not only did we put some money in, we access a line of credit from another company, and then I was able to get business credit cards,
mhm,
which helped with cash flow. And that's how we took, using that, we went to about 2 million in
mhm,
revenue.
Mhm.
So once you understand the amount of money that you need and when you're going to hit those revenue milestones, now you can start thinking about, okay, what's the best form of money? I
Okay.
would for a business where you're already in revenue and you're just increasing your revenue, I would try to manage debt as much as possible, because that allows you to build value in the company without giving too much away.
Right.
Later on, once you hit that $1 million mark and now you want to go to the next level,
Mhm.
then you may consider equity. Once you do that, you're not giving as much away because you build
Right.
more value. So
Right.
does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, and this is great. I'm so appreciative of you sharing that, because I think this really helps a lot of the small business owners, which is a good portion of my clientele, is to help them open up that idea financing, which is something that they don't necessarily think of or just know how to do. So this is a great
Yeah.
great
And
thing.
the SBA financing is great. If you're already in business, you can tap into SBA financing. They're
Yeah.
not great. You have to
Mhm.
be at a certain place.
Right.
You can do that. It's a slower process, but I would, very quickly, I would encourage businesses, to look into that process. It takes a while. I have financing resources, in the millions, and it's actually, it takes about 60 days, but it's really, we've gotten term sheets in the last few months for over $100 million from different
Mhm.
businesses. So we're helping a lot of people with our financing. It's more ESG. So
Mhm.
which means it's more connected to, look, if you're doing something that's higher purpose, I have money for you. And
Right.
so
Right.
I'm a great resource. There's other lending hubs out there where you
Mhm.
can access like 50,000 at a time, 10,000, 20,000. But once you know where you're going,
Right.
now it's easy to plug in different financing
Right.
resources.
And I
So
think the main message here is what you said earlier, and that is there are money out there, right? And that's the concept, and that's the idea that we want people to really kind of get into their, kind of really get that concept, and not be held back by the feeling of lack of money.
and I hear this a lot, people resist doing the things that they could be doing to expand, dramatically their business, and the excuse is I can't afford it, right? Or
Well, yeah.
and that happens a lot.
Yeah, and I think, I can't afford it is one thing. The other thing that I hear a lot, just on the same thread, is I hate debt. I don't ever want to get into debt. And then to the extreme of, I want to pay my mortgage off completely, right? And I, as a money coach, that is not my model and that is not my philosophy, right? Because when you're saying that, it's still coming from the place of fear. But if you really master, like you said, if I really chose to master my money, then we use debt as a tool to help us grow and do other bigger things.
It could be a very useful tool, as long as, I mean, you don't want to incur like high finance charges on a credit card to buy something that's not going to be an appreciating asset. If you
Right,
just go use a credit card to buy something that is just
right,
a thing, right? That's not a good use of debt. Uh,
right.
but if you're using it to enhance your life, or it's an appreciating asset, or especially when it comes to your business, when there's it's going to take you to another level of income. That is a good use of debt.
Yeah,
So
it
we do
it
that a
it,
lot. We
it
leverage.
right, right. And it becomes a financial instrument as opposed to, and I think again, this is where people unknowingly attach their emotional feelings around consumer debt to this debt in business and building wealth. So I'm so happy that we're having this conversation, and I hope everyone who's listening to this will get something out of this conversation. So
Oh
another
yeah.
thing you mentioned earlier about your legacy, and the projects you're doing with tiny homes as part of your legacy, I'm curious, what were some of the criterias for you to decide, and you and Chad say, hey, now it's time for us to do some legacy work? What was it that helped you decide this is the time now for legacy work? I'm just curious.
I was really clear. Like making money for the sake of money is just, that's boring to me. That doesn't like juice me. Like I have a thrilling life right now.
Mm.
Thrilling in a sense that everything I'm doing, I'm passionate about. I'm on purpose. We travel a lot. We have amazing relationships. And so when we came together, I think we were both, we there were remnants of things that we were doing that wasn't thrilling us. And, one day, years ago, this is a long time ago, we said, you know what? Okay, let's really commit to doing things that are really high purpose, that are going to change the world. We want to raise consciousness on the planet. We want to, help solve problems. We look at the problems. In fact, we're plugged into the, United Nations SDGs, the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. So
Mm,
we looked at all those problems that on the planet that need solving, and so we're choosing ones to plug into. So we use ourselves as an instrument of that. So we look at problems we want to be part of, but not just that. We know we can bring the money to the table. We bring the resources. Like, we don't just talk about it. We're not activists in a sense that we're like, we're being very vocal and causing a change. We're actually doing it. We will
right.
build. There's an affordable housing crisis. There's a deficit of 7 million units. So we built a company that will alleviate that problem, and homelessness. Like, yes, so we're building Zen Moose Capital as a social impact fund, specifically to alleviate problem, like raise consciousness on the planet and
Mhm.
support the creators who are have the solutions out there. That's very purposeful for
Right.
us, and it makes us very happy. And that's all I want to be. I just want to be in a place of constant satisfaction, happiness, joy, having a thrilling life. And
Yeah,
this, to me, this really, so that to me, that's our legacy. We're not
that's
doing things
beautiful.
that, I'm not doing things that just for the sake of making money. And that's why we're like, that's our commitment.
Great, great. Thank you. And the reason I ask too is all, again, going back to, I hear people say, and sometimes I do it too, that we have these goals, this, I want to create this legacy and that legacy. But at the same time, we may not feel ready. When I make this much money, or when I get to this place, I will do this legacy work. And so that's why I was curious in your journey, and to help inspire others to, to decide what is the right time for them to embark on their journey of creating legacy work. And it sounds like
That's
for you, you have the financial means, but also at the same time, what was really driving it is your internal drive, your internal desire to do something meaningful, right? To
Well,
leave a.
but that's an excellent question, and I've been teaching this for many years. I've been showing people how to use their business as a force for good. And
Mhm.
so the chat, you're right. The challenge with a lot of businesses is they say, when I make this much money, I'll donate, I'll do things. If you make that decision early on, and by the way, we made the decision before, you know, we didn't have like a substantial buffer when we
Mhm.
did that. In fact, we had, ironically, we stuff happens to us just like everyone else. And somebody had stolen. We had a nefarious group steal a lot of money from us,
Oh no.
really, like really. Oh my gosh! And we worked with law enforcement. It
Mm.
was pretty substantial, and it was a really big deal. It was a huge blow to us. And trust me, there have been many days, I've been under the sheets in a fetal position, like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? So what I'm saying is the decision was made, and I encourage every business owner to make that decision. I'm going to do my legacy work now. I'm going to use my business as a force for good. I'm going to use my life as a force for good. And so, and by the way, we work with law enforcement. We put several people in prison, so we're moved on from that. But the thing is, we had already made the commitment, right?
Mhm, mhm.
So in making the commitment, you learn how to have impact in your business very quickly on multiple levels. You want to have impact on your team, you impact your community, and all that. And just in making the decision, it attracts money. It attracts investors who love
Yeah,
that you're on purpose, right?
that's
It
right.
attracts people who want to work with you. It opens doors. Like, people don't understand, if you don't wait, if you just make
Right,
the commitment and
right.
start having very high purpose, the money has come a lot faster to us in so
Right.
many ways. We have people, like, for instance, we, even in our own lives, like, we've made a significant amount of income from a group of people that are helping us compound, taking small amounts of money, and we're like, hey, we need to create this amount right now for this project or whatever. Like, we've got different people helping us
Mhm,
make money very quickly
mhm, mhm,
because they know we're on purpose. They're bought into our mission, like they're on our team. and it's really fun.
Mhm.
Like it's helping us make money faster. I don't know if I'm explaining that correctly.
Yeah.
So we have multiple streams of income. We have an amazing team of people, of advisors and supporters, and all that, like helping us be better and do more, because
Mhm.
we're like, okay, we're on the purpose train right now.
Right,
So,
right. I love
so
that,
it's
the
really
purpose train. Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you so much. I mean, it's been a great chat, and I think, you and I, we can just talk on and on because there's
I
so
know.
much, so many great ideas and, stories that we can all share. But before we sign off, though, tell our audience, what's next for you. I know you have a lot of different projects going on, and if people want to reach you, to connect with you, where can they find you?
So, you know what? Probably the best thing to do is to go to maria360.com. And so
360.
you'll see maria360.com.
Mhm.
And really, you'll see, and we're also in a rebranding of Zen Moose, and we have some things coming out. Get a chance to, number one, connect with me.
Mhm.
So if people want to learn more about tiny homes, or how they can create wealth having tiny homes, or even in how they can create wealth investing in the tiny home company, reach out to me. If people are looking for financing resources for their business, if you have an existing business and you're ready to take it to the next level, happy to have a conversation about that, and I can point them in the right direction. If you'd like to do work with me, we do have a mastermind group that's brilliant, and that's like we constantly hold a container for people to innovate and disrupt, and we've had amazing transformations in that space. So that's by invitation, and that requires an interview. So happy to talk to people about that. And so, yeah, I think just start there,
Okay.
and you'll be able to connect with us. So,
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you again.
oh, and by the way, Yulin, I just want to say, honestly, Connie at zmcmedia.com. If you can reach out to Connie at
Mhm.
zmcmedia.com, she will help you get connected to me as well.
Got it. Got it. So she's the gatekeeper for your calendar.
Yes.
Okay. Great. Great. Well, thank you so much again for your time and sharing your words of wisdom.
Thank you, my friend. It was
Yeah.
really a pleasure speaking to you.
Okay. Bye now. Thank you for tuning in to the Women and Money Empowerment Show. If you ever have doubt for moments about yourself, your capability, or your worthiness, please remember to keep coming back to these stories and lean in. Draw the wisdom and strength from these incredible women, and know that you also have what it takes to live a fulfilling life. Until next time, have a fabulous day.